Did you know that the presence of a dancer completely transforms the dynamics of a flamenco performance? The roles and responsibilities of the singer and guitarist shift dramatically whether we are performing with baile or not. This distinction exists through the expressions pa'lante or pa'tras, especially when referring to cante when we say cante pa'lante or cante pa'tras. These terms define whether or not there is baile in a performance. But what do they actually mean, and why does it matter? Hi, this is Guillermo Guillen for FlamencoMAPS. Welcome to my channel. Since baile is often more popular than cante, yes, it is usually more popular. Even in Spain, most people first experience flamenco through dance. And you might assume that cante works the same way in any context, that singers just sing the same things the same way whether there is a dancer or not. But no. In both contexts, yes, we are talking about the same thing, flamenco tradicional. We stay within the framework of the traditional flamenco repertoire, the various palo and their estilos, the traditional flamenco structures, the traditional flamenco language and rules of the game. But singing pa'lante and pa'tras isn't just about doing the same thing with or without a dancer. It drastically affects how we choose the repertoire, how we interpret the palos. Some palos sound so different with or without dance that they can feel unrecognizable, which often confuses people. It also affects how we feel and express the compass, set the tempo, structure a baile, decide who leads when, and so much more. It's not just about the technicalities, it's about seeing the deep differences induced by each framework, the choices made by singers, dancers, and guitarists, and how they interact. These terms usually refer to cante and sometimes to the guitar, but today, to keep things simple, I'll focus on cante pa'lante and cante pa'tras. The expressions pa'lante and pa'tras primarily refer to stage directions, positioning on stage. Pa'lante is a contraction of para adelante that literally means forward or in the front. When we say cante pa'lante, we are talking about a performance where the singer takes center stage, typically in a recital setting without a dancer. The same applies to the guitarist. When the guitarist takes a spotlight playing a guitar solo, we can call it toque pa'lante. Pa'tras is the contraction of para atrás, that means in the back or behind. This is when performers are positioned to support a dancer standing or sitting upstage and giving space for the baile. We also say pa baile or para baile, which makes it even clearer that everyone is there in the service of the baile. In a flamenco show with dance, it's common to include one or more cantes or toques pa'lante. This doesn't necessarily mean that the singer or guitarist move downstage, it simply means that they perform a solo piece. It's also a great opportunity for the dancer to take a breath and the audience to take a break from baile. And many times it's also a clever trick to give the dancer time to change their costume or attire. Being an exceptional solo singer or solo guitarist doesn't automatically mean you can or want to perform with a dancer. Even though most of them could, not all flamenco singers and guitarists necessarily do both. That can be due to personal choice or sensitivity. Some artists don't want to perform with baile and others don't want to perform solo. But also because cante and toque are incredibly vast and difficult, and mastering both pa'lante and pa'tras takes dedicated time and practice. Being skilled in both pa'lante and pa'tras isn't as simple as it sounds. It follows entirely different rules of the game, requiring knowledge of distinct structures, codes, cues, vocabulary, compass mastery, palmas, and accompanying baile requires a specific skill set developed through years of experience, usually in tablao. So let me give you some concrete examples of how pa'lante and pa'tras require two distinct approaches. But before that, do me a quick favor and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me continue creating content for you. And please also consider supporting my work by becoming a YouTube member or supporting me on Patreon. I leave a link in the description. About the repertoire. In a pa'lante setting, the singer has complete freedom. They can choose any palo, craft their cante by selecting from countless traditional estilos, and showcase their knowledge. Think of legendary singers like La Niña Los Peines, Antonio Mairena, Fosforito, Carmen Linares, who can navigate the entire flamenco repertoire. But patras, the repertoire often shrinks dramatically. Singers don't have the luxury of choosing what palo they want to sing, and they have to stick to what the dancer, the tablao owner, or the company director selects. And it's usually limited to a small fraction of flamenco's vast musical repertoire. While some dancers and singers enjoy exploring a wide range of palos and estilos, most performers work within a much narrower spectrum. Of the vast variety of palos, only a few are commonly danced, like soleá, alegría, tiento, tango, and a few more. And within that group, only a handful of estilos are typically interpreted. Take soleá, for example. With over 100 estilos, merely 10% are used in bailes por soleá. It's like having an entire library but only reading from a single shelf. I talk about this in this video. About structure and interpretation. Palante, a singer, decides everything. How to begin a cante, whether to start in rhythm or libre, for example. To keep or skip elements like la salida del cante. They decide how many letras, coletillas, estribillos they want to sing, and in which order. They can ask for a falseta if they want, or if they need breathing room. And they decide when and how to end the cante. Patras in a tablao improvised setting, unless told otherwise, a singer can't decide the structure. They can't decide to skip traditional elements like la salida del cante, or decide how many letras they will sing. They and the guitarists too must follow a structure largely induced by the dancer and wait for specific cues or signals to start, stop, and for transitions and for everything. The compass now. In cante palante, each palo typically maintains its native compass. For example, for the soleá, we use the 12-beat soleá type compass, and for tango, we use a 4-beat compass. However, para baile, some palos rhythmically shift. For example, some cantes originally performed without compass were later adapted to fit a rhythm for baile, like Antonio el Bailarín, who was the first who danced el martinete on a compass de siguería. Or el taranto, originally a free-form cante derived from the fandango family,
¡Ay, que dónde andará mi muchacho! ¡Ay! Hace 3 días que yo no lo veo, dime dónde andará mi muchacho.
reimagined by Carmen Amaya into a slow kind of 4-beat tiento style compass. These adaptations highlight how flamenco artists constantly creatively reshape traditional forms to serve evolving artistic goals. The tempo and rhythmic feel. This is one of the most important things. The tempo can fluctuate a lot depending on if there is baile or not. In a Cante por soleá, Palante, the singer has the freedom to explore a wide tempo range. I have a video on this.
No son bonitos ni feos.
But para baile, soleá can slow down to an almost meditative tempo.
¡Vamos allá! ¡En su majestad! ¡Ay, como yo soy fou!
Tiento para baile too is performed at a very slow tempo. While Cante por ciento palante usually goes much faster.
Y la verdad me engañó. A mí la verdad me engañó.
This distinction is crucial for dancers since their steps and footwork are specifically designed for that slow tempo. You simply couldn't perform tiento dance steps to the faster tempo of a tiento palante. It wouldn't work. I mean, you can try and let me know. But it's not just about tempo, it's also about the feel, or more precisely, the subdivision system in play. For example, tiento para baile uses mostly binary subdivisions, while a Cante por ciento palante goes more with ternary subdivisions. Maybe it doesn't make sense right now, but just listen to the different rhythmic feels. And here again, these distinctions are critical for both dancers and guitarists. The guitarists need a completely different set of material, of falsetas, variation, compass loops, depending on whether it's pa baile or palante. A singer must also adapt their technique, their phrasing and breathing to match the different tempo. Depending on the palos and styles, singers performing palante have many processing options, like repeating lines, leaving breaks, respiros. I've covered many of those topics in other videos. Beyond just processing, singers singing palante have incredible interpretive freedom, and many times they improvise with interpretive effects on the spot. They can add vocal flourishes or runs, they can create melodic variations, they can squeeze or stretch lines or syllables, they play a lot with rhythms, they shift lines over the compass, they start in unexpected places, they leave more space, much less squared, much less cuadrada, and more fluid, and so many surprises that make the game interesting. Para baile, there is still some freedom, but the processing options are much more standardized. We usually expect certain patterns in certain palos, like the place of the respiro or the repetition of part of a letra. Everything tends to be more structured and systematic. For example, in Soleá or Alegría, you'll usually have one tercio per compass, starting at the beginning of the compass. This more predictable approach makes sense. Fewer surprises or twists make it easier for the dancer to anticipate and interact with the cante. but sometimes a too standardized approach can take away from the inherent playfulness of flamenco. Of course, these structural standards help dancers and everyone else anticipate the singer's choices so you can interact meaningfully. The problem is that we tend to think that this is the only way, but no, this is the baile way. Cante Palante is in this way much freer than Patras and explores many more possibilities. Singers Patras para baile can of course still incorporate these spontaneous effects, but it's much riskier and an experienced singer has to read the room and assess the skill level of the other artists on stage. For advanced dancers or guitarists, a singer might take a chance and step outside the usual ways, but this only works if everyone on stage can handle the unexpected, stay in the flow and not get thrown off. And this requires a deep knowledge of cante, mastery of the compass and understanding of the structures, as well as the ability to stay tuned in real time. About el tono now, the pitch of the singer. I'm sure you've heard these things like al dos por medio, al cinco por arriba, al tres por taranta. What does that mean? This esoteric language refers to combinations of capo placement plus position on the guitar. And we choose one or the other combination to match the vocal range of the singer. I don't want to go into more details now, but one day we will, in short. Palante, the singer, know their pitch for each specific palo and they communicate to the guitarist where to place the capo and the position. Like al tres por medio means the capo 3rd fret, por medio is this position. Al cinco por arriba, 5 5th fret, in this position. So what about patras? Sometimes the singer must adapt to the guitar because we often seek a specific sound for each palo. For example, in Solea para baile, we typically prefer the por arriba sound as it supports the common phrasing that we expect. Like these kind of things. For this comedian. So there is a limit to where we can put the capo, right? Because we can't really go higher than this. Por solea por arriba. If we want to go higher, we need to shift to another position that wouldn't sound like solea. It wouldn't smell or taste like solea. Por medio. It's not the same. It can work, but it's not the same. So sometimes the singer has to sacrifice a little bit their vocal range to preserve the character of the guitar. However, in Cante Palante, the singer has complete freedom about that. They can sing por solea, either por arriba, por medio, or por any other position that the guitarist wants, and the different possible choices really depend on the singer's vocal range and then personal preferences. One more thing about Cante Patras is that it happens a lot that you have multiple singers for one baile, for one dancer. And when multiple singers share a baile, they face the challenge of collaboration. They must carefully negotiate with their respective vocal range, finding compatible styles that complement each other. And this is a particularly delicate balance to find when singers of different vocal types, such as men and women, have to perform together. Let's talk a little bit about the rights and duties of a singer. Now we understand better how different the rules of interpretation are between Patras and Palante, right? In a Cante Palante setting, the singer has full control over the structure of the performance and enjoys significant freedom in interpretation. It means that the singer is the primary leader and must therefore know how to lead. While the accompanists play a key role in the flamenco conversation, of course, they ultimately follow the singer's lead. In a cante para baile setting, the dancer is the primary, though not the only, leader. The structure, dynamics, and tempo may fluctuate. A smaller portion of the repertoire is typically used. Cante para baile has become highly structured and standardized. In the cante para baile context, singers must understand their roles and responsibilities and the dancer's needs, structure, and language. A singer para baile must have a strong sense of compass and rhythm. They must provide solid, high-quality palmas, especially in smaller setups without additional palmeros or percussionists. They must know when to sing, recognizing and reacting to dancers' cues to come in or stop seamlessly. They must know what to sing, like which estilos, which letras, coletillas, estribillos expected in a specific palo. And they must know how to sing these things, adapting the interpretations, the processing to suit the dancer's expectations. And they also must participate with jaleos to enhance the performance. And even in this very structured cante para baile context, the singer is still expected to bring their own artistry and personal touch. And that's a lot. And I think it's very important to keep in mind that while we often judge a singer based on obvious factors like the voice quality or the emotional expression, there are many hidden skills involved in singing pa'lante or pa'tras, and they are just crucial. Now you understand these terms pa'lante and pa'tras, what they mean. You are equipped to see flamenco with a deeper perspective. You won't be surprised anymore when you notice discrepancies within the same palos, whether it is danced or not. Now you can appreciate how different contexts, whether pa'lante or pa'tras, cante or baile, shape the performance and interpretation. Understanding these nuances gives you a much richer, more dynamic way to engage with flamenco, whether you are performing, studying, or simply enjoying a show. And that's it for today. Thank you so much. If this video helped, you can also help me by liking the video, subscribing to the channel. If you want, you can become a YouTube member. So there is a link for the YouTube membership, or you can also support my work on Patreon. I leave a link in the comment section below. And also go and visit flamencomaps.com, where I explain my classes, my online courses, and my way of teaching flamenco. I'll see you there.